All right. Right on time. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our final Xero Developer webinar for 2020. I'm Sid Maestre, Head of Developer Evangelism and based here in San Francisco. Thanks for joining us today. This session will start with a 10-minute recap of 2020, and then we will spend the rest of the session answering questions from all of you. Really looking forward to it. Our session is designed for the developers and users of our developer platform. In other words, our API and our developer tools. If you do have support questions, please direct those towards our API support team or Xero Central for any Xero product-related queries. This session is designed to be interactive, so please make sure to add your questions in the Q&A functionality that you see inside of Zoom. We will also be asking a poll or two to help us with our discussion, so keep an eye out for those. I can see we're getting lots of responses to our first question. If 2020 were a movie, which genre would it be? Actually, we're getting a pretty fair spread. It was neck and neck between horror and sci-fi, but drama is jumping ahead. My favorite movies are ones that actually blend multiple genres together. So I guess if we could get Jordan Peele to direct the movie, that would be a nice way to do it. I'm joined today by Grace, a developer evangelist in my team. Dan Young, our GM for Developer Experience. Adam Moore, our product manager in the Developer Experience team. And to kick us off, Dan will give us a brief update of what his team has been up to.
Awesome. Thank you, Sydney. It's awesome to be able to join one of these webinars. We've been doing these sort of every month for the last year. It's a really nice kind of way to get, if not pressing flesh time, kind of face-to-face time during the pandemic and all of that. But it's great to be able to join one of these. Adam and I plan to do this a bit more often, so you can get the latest from the horse's mouth, so to speak, each month. But until we get up and running, pleased to be part of the 2020 in review. And thanks for everybody for joining. So firstly, what a shit year it's been for everybody, looking back to the end of 2019, the start of 2020. So many aspirations, travel was booked, weddings to attend, and developer conferences to organise. Alas, things didn't go according to plan from a human perspective. However, most of the world have really leaned in, and I think it's incredible that the whole world's gone through the same thing. Governments working together to keep this virus at bay, and hopefully things will start to sort of settle down soon. So I hope everybody's friends and family are safe and that you're looking after one another. Cool. All right, now on to the good stuff. So despite the tough times, the team have really leaned in and focused on customer value. In times like this, I think it's really important to focus on our developer community, delivering capabilities so that you can provide great services to our small businesses and advisors out there who are really finding it tough. So let's take a look at some of the stats for the year. So our gateway, or gateways, are processing over 850 million requests each month, well over 1 billion if you count auth, which we don't sort of publicly count. Here's a biggie though. So over 4 million webhook batches were processed last month. Far out. I remember when we got really excited when it hit 1 million. That wasn't too long ago. Our auth 2 migration is going really well. We have over 12,000 apps now represented on our new API gateway. 150 partners have migrated thus far. So we're getting right down to the business end with this migration. So let's get migrating, people. Now, I love this one. So over 42% of invoices created in Xero were done via the API last month. And just kind of going back to, I think it was May 2020, it represented 137 million invoices. So those are some big numbers there. And one that I didn't put in here is that we're processing more API requests than there are page views inside the Xero app. So basically, you all are using Xero on behalf of our subscribers more than they are. and there are over 70,000 of you doing that, or at any one in any one month. And one stat that I never mention, which I might actually get in trouble for, so I'll ask for forgiveness later, is that our all-time user number on our API is over 850,000. So it's going to be party time when that hits 1 million for sure. So enough vanity. Let's get to what we've delivered over the past year. So in terms of the platform, I'll take you through some of those updates, where we're going in 2021, and then I'm also going to mention some things that we're doing in the app marketplace as well. So you know how we're investing in the app discovery and distribution piece. Another reason why you should consider partnering with Xero, so you can also get access to over 2 million customers. But from a platform perspective, so top of the list for us is the continuation of the OAuth2 rollout and migration. That's probably pretty obvious. We've delivered a quick, easy, and secure use of OAuth2 for native apps and PKCE. We've built a couple of sweet features to enhance the customer onboarding flow in the API as well. So firstly, the ability to connect orgs in bulk, and secondly, a product called Rapid Sync, which essentially lifts our rate limits for the first 30 minutes of a new connection. We've made some behind-the-scenes improvements to the accounting API as well, so optimization and stability. Hopefully this is going to make it a lot easier to work with for everybody. Some of the marquee features, if you like, so the budgets endpoint is now live and currently in exclusive access. However, that will be opened to all OAuth2 apps from April 1 in 2021. Developers also now have the ability to retrieve, create, update, and delete quotes in Xero. Some of the things that we've been really excited about are our new dev tools, specifically developer.xero.com. So a lot of work has been going on behind the scenes here. You'll notice a complete portal redesign. We're reimagining the My Apps section and have updated OAuth2 history. And we're about to ship a new API Explorer, which replaces the current API Previewer. So it's legit. You should check it out ASAP once it's available on the portal. But that is not all. We have also been doing some really cool things in our app marketplace as well. So in 2020, and we're continuing on with this, but we've been building on our search tool by providing and using Coveo and providing more useful structured data and refining the algorithms to return more meaningful app matches to the user. On the reviews side, on our new platform will allow easier access and navigation for the end user to be making purchasing decisions, and it's more intuitive. The review management is great for the app partner to be monitoring and managing feedback. Quite frankly, the current reviews system is fairly lousy, so we're hoping this is going to make a massive difference for our community. Staff picks as well. This is an interesting one. So users can take a recommendation from our staff who live and breathe the App Store and see what they've been raving about. So that was 2020, a massive year considering. So let's flick over, Sid, to what we're looking at for the next 12 months. It's looking big. It's looking lit. Now that we're clear of some of those fundamentals, we're going to be building some awesome experiences on top. So firstly, we're going to be deprecating OAuth1. Target is still March 31. For those of you who don't know already, we've been sending communications out for the last sort of 12 to 18 months about that, but we'll be sending more reminders and all of that sort of stuff. So you will hear from us ongoing about that. More webhooks are coming. Specifically, we'll be looking at more granular webhooks on invoices. We'll be looking at payments and other transactions like credit notes and bank transactions as well. One of the really cool things that we're looking to do in the new financial year is provide all of our developers with test organizations so that they can better test out their integrations. It's still in the discovery stage, but development is, all other things being equal, planned for the new financial year. We also have some other things planned to better support our custom integrations and machine-to-machine developers. More on that one a little bit later, but it's going to be a game changer, so stay tuned, please. Updates in API accounting that you're all going to care about, no doubt. We need to comply with the new 1099 changes for the US, exciting stuff. And we've got edits on paid invoices coming as well. Then the cool stuff that you've all been waiting for, which you ask me about all the time. No promises on timing, but we plan to tackle both puts and posts on repeating invoices. And if you play your cards right, then we'll look at bank statement import as well. These are top asks on user voice. But again, it's very aspirational. It's not a commitment. Just want to be clear about that. But I do want to also be clear about our intentions for the next 12 months. And those two things are certainly on the list. Now, we have been sort of relatively quiet on the DevTools front for the past year. Lots of re-architecture and whatnot going on. But we're about to go gangbusters with some really great tools. So as I mentioned before, a revamped API Explorer, the release of which is imminent. We want to show you the health of your integration, making it easier and swifter to get certified, allowing you to add multiple roles to your apps, so the right people are doing the right things at the right time that you need them to do. And we'll also be doing a full revamp of our API reference documentation as well. So further details of those releases will be available in the coming months or so. So sit tight. You can jump onto our Trello roadmap for more information about that. And if that wasn't enough, we have some sick updates coming for the app marketplace in 2021. Let's take a sneak peek at that, Sydney. So once the new reviews are re-platformed, the team are going to build on the existing app recommendation engine, providing more contextual suggestions for our customers to make it easier for them to discover the right apps for them at the right point in their journey with Xero. So this is super exciting. It's an awesome feature, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it in action. Not only will we make it easier to find apps, we're also going to be leveling up the ability for our customers to try and buy those apps from our marketplace as well. And lastly, we also have plans to revamp the categories on the marketplace, which is another discovery play. As you can see, we're not only updating the platform and tools for you to build a slick integration, but we're also improving the discovery mechanism as well, and the ability for our customers to get your apps. That's the key. It's all in the name of giving small businesses and advisors their best life. So, right, I'm going to take a moment now to sort of take a breath. That was a bit whirlwind, sorry about that, but time is of the essence, and we want to get to your questions. So I'll let that sink in. In the meantime, back to you, Sydney, for some evangelism updates, I believe.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Had to find the unmute button there. Really exciting updates. I'm sure you might get some great follow-up questions around those. I'm sure people are excited and want to know more. I just wanted to give you a few updates from the evangelism team before we get into the Q&A. For those who aren't familiar with Xero's evangelist team, we are the we like to say that we are the human face of our APIs. And so I did want to share some of those faces. So this year we actually had an expansion of the evangelist team, which included some new hires, but also we divided the group into two. So we have a new technical evangelist team that's being led by James Coleman in the UK. And James is just joined by Sean Lowe, who's in Melbourne, and Richard DeMarco in Denver, both who've joined in 2020. And if you're not familiar with our technical evangelist team, they're working closely supporting the engineering teams at banks, lenders, our payment service companies, our large top accounting firms, and some of those big industry suppliers who want to improve the customer experience by integrating with Xero. And since these partners require a higher level of engagement, James' team is there to support them along the way. Our developer evangelist team continues its long tradition of welcoming our new app partners into the ecosystem and certifying them for the marketplace. But we also like to get out and meet the community face to face. Sadly, we had to put our events on hold this year, but we did find a way to connect with our community online through content. If you haven't visited our YouTube channel, there's lots and lots of great videos the team is putting out to educate you about our SDKs and our platform. We also are blogging at devblog.xero.com. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. And of course, these webinars that we're hosting. And then lastly, we've really expanded our work around our APIs, around our SDKs, and we're doing that through open API specifications. We've been crafting those and using them to automatically generate SDKs. We've been creating code samples, and all of this work is open source. It's available on GitHub. Just search for the Xero API handle, and you'll find all these great projects we've been working on this year. So let's look at 2020 real quick. As I mentioned, SDKs, we've shipped 6 of those this year. We've also added lots of API coverage. We always start with the accounting endpoints. Those are important, but we also know that people want to use fixed assets, projects, Australian, UK payroll. All of those have been rolled into all the SDKs. Grace is putting up a nice little poll there for you. We always like to know what kind of languages our developers are using. And recently we've released the specification for New Zealand payroll, and we've got that live in our Ruby, Java, and Python SDKs. So lots of excitement there. We also are building, like I said, those companion apps, those starter applications to help you understand how to get up and running and get to your first API call quickly. One interesting stat, we've done 160 or over 160 releases across these 6 SDKs this year. We've also accepted 34 pull requests from developers. Those are super important, along with the 360 issues that have been filed. Keep them coming. Your feedback is what's making these SDKs so robust and so solid for the developer community. So you're our partner in building these, I see. And then on the content front, this is our 4th webinar. We saw over 1,500 registrations across the webinars this year. We also have been, as I mentioned, creating a lot of YouTube content. 2,427 total hours of content was viewed in 2020. Fun fact, if you had the time to watch all 9 episodes of The Office 25 times, that would be about the equivalent to the amount of YouTube content that was watched this year. So that's kind of a fun little stats we've got. My final slide is around what's coming. So I mentioned New Zealand payroll. We're going to get that support across all of our SDKs. We also have a files API support that we want to get rolled into our SDKs. We've got Chris Knight on our team is working on our 0 to 1 podcast, which is going to feature interviews with our app partners. They're going to discuss how they build software. Should be really interesting to any of you building SaaS products. We're going to keep it on with our YouTube and webinar series. And we also are looking to improve the SDK documentation that we're going to be generating. So watch out for that. And our surprise for today for the Golang developers, we are actively building a brand new Golang SDK. It's going to support OAuth 2, and it should be out in early release soon. So that is my update. I'm going to pass it back to Grace.
Cool. Thanks, Sid and Dan, for those great recaps and updates on what everyone can look forward to in 2021. So I don't know about everyone on the call, but I am pretty excited to see all of those things shipped. And so what we're going to do is we're going to launch into a Q&A section. So I'm just going to invite Dan and Adam to join Sid and I, and we're going to be answering some of the questions that we received before the webinar in the registrations, but also those that have come up in the Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please make sure to click on the Q&A function in the toolbar of your Zoom window and ask your questions there. We've got a couple of the dev evangelists on the call helping us moderate those as well. If you do have any support questions, a reminder that those can go towards our API tech support team via api@xero.com, or if they're specific to the Xero product, then make sure you check out Xero Central for your help. So to kick us off, I'm going to hand over to Adam.
Thanks, Grace. I guess why not start off where we just left off, and I'll throw straight back to Sid. You've already teased the Golang SDK is coming to early release soon. We've got the 6 other languages that we support. Any plans for any more languages?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess I'd start by saying that we definitely chose the first 6 based on what we'd seen developers using, and we started. We actually had a Golang SDK for OAuth 1, so that was definitely, there was some developer demand there. What we're thinking though is we'd love to hear from the community. We think about different languages like Swift, right? Because we can now do native iOS development with support for PKCE. So the capabilities there, but before you charge off and build an SDK, you like to hear what developers actually want to use. So if you've got ideas, definitely let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, come to us through the community. Let us know what kind of languages you want to support. And I also want to encourage folks, we have these open API specifications up on GitHub as well. You're welcome to grab those and go and use any of the sort of SDK code generation tools out there and build for your own languages, or you can employ middleware solutions. I've seen them used in that regard. So, we're here to support you, but we're also here to give you the tools you need to kind of go roll your own solutions and have fun and make your way the best way that you can for yourselves.
Let's look back now to Grace. You're out there every day certifying integrations, working with our app partners. With the deadline for OAuth 2 migration coming up soon, you got any tips for people who still haven't migrated yet?
Yeah, I definitely do. First of all, put it on your backlog. So make sure that you do have it planned. We want to make sure that you do meet that March 31st deadline. We are encouraging everyone to migrate as soon as they can. So we know that January and the end of December can be a bit of a write-off with all the fun celebrations that you have around Christmas or any other holidays, and just taking a little time to wind down for the year. So we do say put on your roadmap if you can this side of the year. But if you are looking for resources to help you out, there are quite a number of those. So we did run a migration webinar earlier this year, and that's available on YouTube as a recording. So that's a really great resource where Chris, one of our Ds, put together some content for that, and Jenks. And if you are looking for other resources, we do have a Ruby migration script available on GitHub, and we do have our OAuth 2 documentation available on developer.xero.com. If you do run into issues, which can happen, then have a chat to your developer evangelist, or check out our forums or contact API support. So I know this has been a really hot topic, Dan. So I'm going to put you under the grill for a second. And we've had a number of people, Max, Peter, and Sandy, who've all sent in questions ahead of the webinar or during the webinar. And they've asked about private apps are being deprecated. What are the plans to support the client credential grant in the future?
Awesome. Well, lucky for me, I've been preparing for this question since August 2019. But no, seriously. So firstly, I want to begin by recognizing all of the great feedback and candor that we've had from the community on this particular functionality and use case. Although it was a deliberate decision for us to support a single OAuth 2 flow, we've had to reevaluate how we support non-UI use cases, and perhaps those developers who are A, less familiar with OAuth, who is familiar with OAuth though, B, creating bespoke custom integrations for their organization, C, the machine-to-machine use case that doesn't require user consent, and finally for those developers who actually don't want or need to manage refresh tokens. So in response to this feedback, we will be building a new premium integration option utilizing the client credentials grant type for our developers and small businesses to satisfy these use cases. This option will strip away much of the complexity that comes with building a traditional Xero app. It is a unique and innovative solution that will sort of be simple for integrators to use while also keeping Xero users in control of their data, which is very important to us. You can still go down the standard path, and no problems there. You can still go down that path, but here are some reasons why this option could be great for you. So the first one, it provides simple, fast, and secure access with no more refresh tokens. Secondly, we have a world-class authorization and consent model. We're talking about a dedicated UX that is clear and robust, just as clear and robust as a traditional marketplace app. Thirdly, shorter dev time. If you're a developer partner, this should enable you to get more jobs and have happier customers. And probably the final thing, and really important thing at this point in time, is that it provides an easier path to move to OAuth 2. So this work is in development, and we're not just saying something's going to happen and who knows. This work is in development right now, and we're confident that this will provide a simple, efficient experience for you and your customers. We're hoping to have this ready early 2021, and rest assured, this option will be available prior to us deprecating OAuth 1 giving you time to choose the option that's best for you and your customers. And that's the key. This is just another option. We think it's a great option that you can take on. So to find out more on this, you can visit developer.xero.com/announcements/ custom integrations coming / or developer.xero.com announcements custom integrations are coming. So we'll be keeping that page updated though when we have more news, and we'll make sure, or you should make sure, that you're signed up to our developer newsletters for the latest updates.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that exciting news, Dan. I know that that's something that we've had a lot of requests for, and even I've just been looking in the Q&A in the chat, and there have been a few questions come through on that already. So really exciting. And if you didn't catch that URL, Chris did kindly put that link in the chat window for everyone. So if you want to check that out, that's where you can find it. Another hot request that we get, Adam, I'm going to throw this one to you, is around the availability for a sandbox environment. Can you chat a bit about our thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. I guess, first thing, like Dan, is the sort of admission that, we realize it's not great, the demo company. It sort of does the job, but having to log in every 28 days and reset it just so you can run some tests is suboptimal. That's fair. And so that's probably next up on the kind of big things pain points we want to solve for next year. So, still in the early stages, not something we're actively working on, like the custom integration stuff at the moment. But sort of once that's over the line, that's kind of the next meaty thing we want to tackle to make everyone's lives a bit easier. So no specific details at the moment about exactly what that's going to look like, but we'll definitely be taking an API-driven approach. So whether it's spinning up a new org or resetting an org or changing the region to have an org in a different region to run different tests, we want to make that all available by an API. And because we have the user-based access tokens in OAuth 2 now, that actually becomes possible where it wasn't possible before when the auth was tied to a specific org. So again, just stay tuned, make sure you sign up to the newsletter, and hopefully we'll have some more news for that earlier next year. Okay, my turn next again. Another one for you, Sid. So Nick sent through a question ahead of time, and he'd like to hear about your thoughts around Workflow Max and Xero Practice Manager and the recent changes in that API space, and any plans for future support in the SDKs.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, good question. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Workflow Max and Xero Practice Manager, lovingly known as XPM, these products are actually have a shared lineage and DNA. And so for at least forever, as long as I've known, they've shared an API. But with this move from version 1 to version 3 of their API, there's some pretty big changes. One is that they're actually splitting those off into 2 separate APIs so that those product teams can innovate and those innovations can flow into the APIs and they don't have to try to sort of split the difference between them. They can kind of go their own way and continue to improve and evolve. A big part of that change was also getting these 2 APIs behind our OAuth 2 gateway. So we've got that done this year. And we were super excited about adding these to our SDKs, but then we discovered that we haven't made that move from XML to JSON. With those 2 APIs. The product teams are aware of that need, and so we're going to continue to advocate to get that work done because we generate all of our SDKs from our API specifications. We need to have JSON support because all of our SDKs do the serialization and deserialization with JSON, where we didn't feel the need to try to do both XML and JSON if JSON's the future, right? And we're all about the future. So yeah, so what can you do today, right? If we're waiting for that JSON support and that SDK support, well, you could definitely go and because it's OAuth 2 and it's standard, you can use any off-the-shelf OAuth 2 library. You can authorize, get your token, and then make, hit those protected resources using XML. You will have to roll some of that, serialization and deserialization, but the cool thing is that it's OAuth 2, and when we do move to having full SDK support, you can roll right into that and take advantage of all that functionality once it's ready for you. So if you're looking for examples, go to our GitHub repository. We've got some good examples, and we also have a lot of blogs around this. We call it vanilla OAuth, but basically it's OAuth without an SDK. And we've written like 5 different blog posts for 5 different languages, how to do that with our accounting API. And all of that can be reused for Workflow Max or XPM.
Cool. There's a great little follow-up question for that. So I'm just going to ask Adam quickly. We had someone ask us about whether we'd be opening up a work papers or tax API. So kind of related to those APIs. Can you talk a bit about what that kind of process is at all for any new APIs that we do make available?
Yeah, good question. I guess a little bit depends on the various product teams at Xero and sort of what their strategy is for allowing third-party access into their products. But we certainly default to open. That's sort of one of our ecosystem principles. Now, yeah, XPM and the Workflow Max space is a little bit more complicated than most. So we've finally brought the behind OAuth 2. That's obviously a huge start. We still need to get JSON support, as Sid mentioned. We're still working on splitting out those products so that we can tailor a better experience both for our accounting practice users and the other practice users of Workflow Max. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. And then on top of that, as you'll know, if you're in that accounting practice space, we also have these security requirements that we're now adhering to from the tax office in Australia and things like that. So yeah, that's a long list of excuses, but that's kind of where we're at the moment. So still kind of, I guess working through what the plans are there. And so the answer is no immediate plans to open those products up, unfortunately. Grace, developer roadshows all cancelled in 2020, obviously. So aside from this great webinar, where else could people go to find out the latest information?
Yeah, we were pretty sad to not be able to catch up with all of our great community in person this year. We know how much everyone loves kind of getting together in that sense. So the team did a pretty big pivot, and I can see in the poll that we have up at the moment that the YouTube content and webinars were really interesting to a lot of people this year, and so that's really great to see. So you will find us uploading to YouTube most weeks now, and we also have webinars like this running pretty often. And those usually get uploaded to YouTube too. On YouTube, we tend to do kind of deep dives on some of the API features we've shipped, or some of our SDKs, and we also run community corners where we actually answer some of those popular questions that we see crop up from the community. And then other than that, it's good to check out the developer blog, devblog.xero.com. And we usually also keep nice updates in our monthly EDM that goes out as well. So those are kind of the key places you can find content with us. And I'm sure one day in the future, we'll be able to get together again to have an in-person developer meetup as well. So we look forward to that. Dan, I know there's like some really exciting things coming through on the roadmap for 2021. What are you most excited for?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good question, Grace. So for me, I have a bit of a soft spot for developer.xero.com. So came into Xero as a product manager in that space, and so it's great that we're able to give that some resource and TLC that it needs, and load more to come in future too. So that's really exciting, I think, as we move forward. So a lot of work has kind of been done on the fundamentals this year, and we'll be building some epic experiences on top, both this year and next, as I mentioned earlier. And given the move to OAuth2 and the feedback that we've received from developers, I'm also really looking forward to making lives better for our custom integrators and developer partners, which is something that in the API team, we're all very passionate about. And so, I hope we can provide them with great options in future to help satisfy their use cases.
Cool. Thanks for that, Dan. And if people do want to get updated on kind of the things that are coming up, Adam, where's the best place for developers to find, what's coming up in our roadmap?
Yeah, thanks. As I think Dan alluded to it earlier, but we have a Trello board for our public roadmap, and we sort of keep that as up to date as we can. Obviously, things move around, but we, as I said, we try and be as transparent with what our intentions are, just so that you can all plan your roadmaps as well. So if you scroll down to the footer of the you look developer.xero.com, you'll find a link to the public roadmap in there, and you can sort of see what cards are on the map, and vote for them if they're important to you. And yeah, there'll be a few new ones we need to add after the announcements today. So maybe check in tomorrow. Let's go back to you, Sid. Coming back to the migration, or I guess SDKs in general, sort of what advice would you give to developers who have built on older versions of our SDKs or their own SDKs that they've rolled themselves? Should they adopt the new SDKs, or are they production ready?
Yeah, that's a great question. Are they production ready? Yeah. So I would say for anyone who's starting brand new with their integration, absolutely check out our SDKs and see if they feel good to you, and if you like them, go for it. The question about whether you should replace your existing code base with our new SDKs, to me, that question is really, it depends, right? It depends on your situation. For example, if you're using one of the 3 major community libraries, whether that's Zeroizer for Ruby, the Xero PHP for, written by Michael Calcinine, or the PyZero, I have seen those communities have done releases to OAuth2. So they have added some OAuth 2 support, and you're welcome to stick with those. No one says you have to migrate. When it comes to the SDKs that Xero wrote for OAuth 1, those don't share any code base with the new SDKs. And so you need to think of them as completely separate. There's no like, just flip a version and it works. They were built completely differently. OAuth 1 was handwritten and OAuth 2 is all generated. So for that reason, you need to sort of decide, do I want to fork, an existing old SDK and retrofit it myself because I have a very complex integration. I feel very comfortable with the code and the way it works today. I just want to add OAuth 2 and add some headers to do the authentication and pass in the right headers. You can absolutely do that. It just depends on your technology skill set that you have in-house, what's available to you. I will mention on the pro side, if you adopt an official SDK, you will get new changes get rolled into our spec pretty quickly and then rolled into all 6 SDKs pretty quickly. If someone finds a bug in the PHP SDK and it relates to the spec, then that gets fixed for 6 different languages in the next release. So there's that real sort of, you get the advantage of the masses. You also get Xero's API support team being much more knowledgeable and helpful with those SDKs. So it's not this is the right way. It's the right way for you, and we're here to support you if you do go with the official ones. But do what's right for your business and your integration.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. So that's really great to hear. So Adam, just putting you in the hotspot a little bit. Obviously, Xero is a web-based product, but not all apps that integrate with us are web-based products. Can you talk a bit about how desktop and mobile apps that integrate with us are best supported?
Yeah, totally. Another one that Dan mentioned earlier, that we released earlier in the year, is our support for PKCE or Pixie. And it's an extension on the authorization code flow, which is really good because it means that you can securely connect directly to our API from a native app, whether that's on a mobile device or a desktop, etc. And because it works much the same way as the standard authorization flow that web apps use, it puts you on the sort of same footing as those web app partners, which we've traditionally had most in the marketplace. So it means you can get certified and join the partner program and get on the marketplace and all those good things as well. So we've seen a few new partners join the marketplace this year already, and I'm sure we'll see a few more by the time OAuth 1 gets switched off. But yeah, as Sid sort of alluded to with the Swift thing as well, hopefully we'll see all sorts of new apps finally be able to join the platform because that barrier that was there with OAuth 1 and trying to use a private app or whatever just isn't there anymore. So having to build a web server to proxy your traffic, you just don't need to do any of that stuff anymore. So looking forward to see what happens next year.
Yeah, thank goodness for Pixie. It's been nice to see some of the some more desktop and mobile apps roll into the marketplace in the last few months using that. So it's great to see the uptake of that feature. Dan, a really good question for you. People are always curious how we prioritize our roadmap. We have lots of requests, some dating back a number of years that we haven't got to. Can you just share a bit with our community around like how we navigate that road of all these fantastic ideas and actually getting them out for them to use?
Yeah, we get this question a lot, both internally and externally actually, and the answer is with immense difficulty. I think the hardest part, and I was asked this question by a graduate who was interviewing with us, what the hardest part of my job is, and it is disappointing people, disappointing customers, and I disappoint a lot. But you do get used to it after a while and realise that, you can't please everybody. So we have requests coming in from developers, internal staff, process improvement, commercial opportunities, M&A, a lot of M&A stuff now, a lot of compliance and regulatory commitments to meet, and the usual bugs and technical refinements and things. And so, we take all of these into account and we try and deliver what we feel, at least, is the most important thing. And also importantly, we try and be as transparent as possible about what we're doing. Adam mentioned this earlier when he talked about where you can find updates. I mean, he's immune to feedback barrage himself. And one of the big things to get used to in platform product management is patience. So yeah, it is an exciting space. But rest assured that user voice, that is the place that you can register your feature requests and vote on what's already there. You can do that on a Trello roadmap as well. It's not a black hole, so we do refer to it on a regular basis. We have specific meetings about it actually, and we have new requests and comments come into a Slack channel. So that's how much we care about it, and we want to deliver everything. Unfortunately, we're just not resourced to do everything we'd like to, but we are working on that. And with respect to the features that might have been on the forum for a little while, I guess we can only eat humble pie on that one. We've these haven't been delivered, but we have all of the above variables to consider. And when we do our planning, we do have goals as a platform, and they have changed and matured over time. But hopefully you've heard some good stuff today, and a lot of those will satisfy many of the requests that you've had in the past. So
cool. Thanks, Dan. I know that's always a tricky one to make sure everyone's kind of aware of what we're working on and why we're doing it and when we're doing it as well. So we're going to push through with some more Q&A in the next few minutes from the attendees today. If you do have any other questions, feel free to pop them in that Q&A section as well. So Adam, I think you're up next.
Yeah, this one from Richard. And all I've got in the notes here is Richard, but I assume that means Richard from Figured, judging by the question. If we're really well behaved, what are the chances of Santa bringing us a transactions API? And maybe I'll just jump on. It does kind of follow on nicely from Dan's question, or Dan's just comment then about user voice. And yeah, I guess it is creeping up there, and especially as Dan mentioned, we want to knock off the top two, which is statement importing and repeating transactions. But the account transactions report would then, I think, be number one. So yeah, it's definitely getting there on the radar, but yeah, nothing we're sort of committing to at the moment. So sorry about that. That's just yeah, another disappointment. But,
that's right. We can't do everything, but we'll get there eventually, right? So
that's right.
Sid, there's a really good question actually from one of our attendees today, Daniel. And he said that they are working on getting an app certified at the moment, and they want to know if the team the developer evangelist team has a close down period, and a support team. Maybe Dan, you can jump in on that as well. And what kind of timeframes might be working there around, like when we're out of the office.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't anticipate that one, but it's a good one. Yeah, so typically the few days before Christmas through New Year's is pretty quiet. I mean, either Xero gives us a few extra days, or we just take those days off. And then I tend to notice in the Southern Hemisphere that things get pretty quiet. And so this year, Xero is actually going to have some more downtime in January. So it depends if you're in the Southern or Northern Hemisphere. But we typically are, I would say, 2 weeks are pretty quiet. If you've got some kind of deadline that is this side of Christmas, definitely talk to your dev evangelist. See what you can, see what you can do to accelerate the process. I know if you're working through certification, it can be a little bit of a back and forth, but I also know that there are things you can do in parallel to accelerate yourself through that process. And the evangelists are definitely there to support you through that. Dan, I'll let you speak to any API support over the holidays.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? We want to. People haven't really been able to go on holiday this year, and so there's been a lot of kind of leave built up and burnout and all of that type of jazz. So we do have we'll have a skeleton kind of crew supporting all of you across the Christmas New Year period. Hopefully all of you will be holidaying, so you won't need to contact us. That's kind of what we're banking on. But if not, you will still receive a really good level of support from us. We really do care about it, and in terms of if heaven forbid anything were to happen on the API, or if any incidents and all of that sort of stuff, rest assured that we still have the boffins available to fix that and let you know what's happening in a transparent manner. So it's kind of business as usual, but we just won't have as many folks on the ground. So probably we'll be at half capacity over that time.
Cool. All right, let's take another one from the list that have come in. I'll throw that back at you, Dan. Any plans for a webhook post message when a customer disconnects their org? I can answer my own question if you like.
Yeah, I was going to say, interesting question, passing it to me, the product manager for this particular thing. But I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, it sounds like it would be a really neat thing to have. We do have plans to kind of do a bit of work in this space. It's one of those things that, because of OAuth 2 and then all of the other kind of flows that we want to support and new app types and all the rest of it, webhooks has kind of been the can that gets kicked down the road, unfortunately. So it needs a bit of love. Yeah, what do you reckon, Adam? Is that something that we want to do?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It pops up from time to time to get that through the evangelists generally sort of raise that with us. That's sort of one of the examples of feedback that we get quite often. It's a bit of a tricky one because we only deliver webhooks to orgs that your app's connected to. So might be a little bit of a race condition we have to deal with there to make sure we send that out before we kill the subscription to that org. But so it's a little bit trickier. And yeah, but in general, for webhooks, it is something we really want to get back to. We really want to extend that out over more accounting API endpoints like payments and bank transactions and others. Yeah, it's just unfortunately one of those ones that hasn't made it to the top of the list this year, but something we're keen to get back to.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we do want to do is I think provide a bit more transparency around the performance of your app, and so on a monthly basis or whatever, it'd be nice to show how many new connections and then disconnections that you might have had, hopefully no disconnections during the month. So from a UI perspective, that's something that we're thinking about exposing in developer.xero.com. Maybe we'll look at how we can do it from a webhook perspective as well, but TBD.
Cool. Thanks for that update, guys. Sid, there's a good question for you here. Someone has spoken about, it's a question more about the Xero product itself, around whether Xero would consolidate for reports. But I was interested if maybe you could talk a bit about some of the products that are available in the marketplace and that kind of fit those features that you can't find in Xero.
Oh yeah, that's actually an interesting question. Yeah, so we definitely see our app marketplace as a way for people to find solutions that go beyond what Xero offers out of the box. And reporting is definitely a really hot space. If you go to apps.xero.com and you go to the reporting category, you will see a lot of different options in there. We've got some apps that have been around or have been with us for years, so they've gotten a lot of customer feedback. They've really, gone deep on the reporting, and so like consolidated reporting is definitely supported by some of our apps. I don't want to name any apps; it'll feel like I'm playing favorites. So I'll let you go there. Look at the reviews, look at the star ratings, click through to those reviews, and read some some of them. It's really interesting to see what other customers feel about different apps and what they're saying about them. And then a lot of these have free trials. So go and hook it up to the demo company, try it out, or hook it up to one of your companies, because reporting apps tend to only pull data, so you don't worry about messing them up. And you can play with it for 14 days and see does this scratch the itch, I guess. That answer it well? Good enough, Grace? Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's it really. Like there are a lot of different apps available in the marketplace, and I think I'm always blown away by the different types of functionality that apps have. And so even as a developer and an app partner yourself, it's always good to go and have a look at what other people in your space are doing as well, and kind of see the developer and the app community that you sit inside of as well as a whole.
Cool. Yeah, I might just jump on this one. So does the API team ever explore removing API limits? Interesting question. No is probably the short answer. It depends what you mean, I guess. Like obviously, yeah, we have rate limits on your API requests, and that's interacting with people's real production data. So would we ever remove rate limits? No. Do we investigate ways where we can sort of raise those rate limits for people? Yes, but it's that's always a sort of thing we're sort of constantly analyzing and looking at and working on and seeing if we can optimize our APIs better so that they can handle higher load and things like that. But number one is the stability of the platform. So we're not being mean just for the fun of it. There is reason behind our madness. And I guess the other kind of limit is on the connection limit. I might throw that over to you, Sid, if you want to talk about sort of the connection limits on uncertified apps and all too.
Yeah. And I was definitely going to say, Adam, as you were talking, it made me think about all the work you've done over the years, the team has done to optimize things like adding paging support and returning more detail when people use paging and things like that on invoices. So like really trying to identify the ways developers are using the API and getting it to them without compromising the performance of the API. On the question about org connection limits, yeah, so this was actually a pretty big change with OAuth 1 to OAuth 2. With OAuth 1, you could only you could do a private app and get one connection that never expired, or you could do a private app or a public app where you got 30 minutes, but you couldn't refresh, so people had to keep going through the OAuth flow. And then you had our partner app, which gave you that combination of long-lived tokens, and you can connect to more than one org. So we took I think a different approach with OAuth 2, which I've been very happy to see that giving people 25 connections where they can refresh those, and so they get those long-lived tokens for up to 25 orgs, I think really gives people a space to play and develop and explore and get to a place where if they need more than 25, then that's sort of the signal that they probably should talk to an evangelist about partnering with Xero in some capacity, whether that's through the marketplace or having a conversation with us because let's say, for example, they're an accounting firm and they want to connect, 100 of their clients. You're bumping up against that 25 limit. Talk to us so we can, figure out how we can support you in that way. Because you probably don't want to put your app in our marketplace, but you also need more than 25. So we're definitely working through those different scenarios and figure out how we can support those people at scale. Right now, we're sort of doing it through conversations, but I think we in 2021 we want to solve for that and make it a lot easier for people to get the access they need as quickly as possible.
Cool. Thanks so much, Sid, for helping out with that question. So we have run out of time for questions today. I'd like to say a huge thank you to the attendees who've sent through some excellent questions for us to answer. If there is something that we didn't get to, I will stay on for a little bit after we finish just to try and clear those through. Or you can always contact us through our normal API support team, or have a look through our forums and that kind of thing to dig up some helpful information. So we hope that you've all taken away something interesting from today, and a big thank you as well to Sid and Dan and Adam for joining us on our talk. So have a lovely day no matter where you are in the world, or if you're watching the recording later on.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Grace.